Shocking truth. Girl hides her dress until a billionaire surprises her at midnight dance. The clock ticked ominously as midnight approached, wrapping the town in a web of anticipation. Emily stood in her dimly lit room, her heart racing like a runaway train. She had hidden the most jaw-dropping dress beneath her bed, its sequins shimmering like stars. The air was thick with mystery. Nobody knew what tonight would bring. Her palms tingled with excitement, and her mind spun with possibilities. Was this really the night a billionaire would sweep her off her feet? Just last week, rumors flew like wildfire. Everyone whispered about Nathaniel Devereux, the enigmatic billionaire, who was rumored to be attending the charity gala, a man with a reputation for extravagance and charm. Would he recognize her? The idea sent chills down her spine, making her breath hitch. Was it all a dream, or was it real? A gut feeling told her this night would change everything. As she peeked out the window, a black SUV glided down the street, pulling up to the grand entrance of the event. Bright lights bounced off the polished surface like fireworks, drawing a crowd, while music pulsed in rhythm with her thumping heart. She could sense the magnetic energy from where she stood, images of laughter and dancing swirling in her mind. But something felt strange. A dark cloud loomed over the excitement. Why was it that no one spoke of the unexpected twist? Emily's dress was far more than just clothing. It was rumored to hold a secret, a power she didn't fully understand. There was a small part of her that hesitated. What if the whispers of magic weren't just fairy tales? What if she was stepping into something far more complicated than she could handle? A quick knock disrupted her thoughts. Her friend Tara peeked in, her eyes wide with anticipation. "Em, are you ready?" He asked. Here the urgency in her voice electrified the air, awakening the dread and exhilaration coiled inside Emily. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With a deep breath, Emily turned away from the mirror, her reflection glinting with anxiety and hope. She felt the weight of destiny resting on her shoulders as she took hold of the dress. This wasn't just a gown. It was a passage to the unknown. As she stepped through the door into the world beyond, her heart pounded in tune with the music that surged like a tidal wave from the gala. But then a shadow flickered at the edge of her vision, a figure lurking at the entrance, cloaked in mystery and menace. Who was this person, watching her every move? It felt wrong, a sharp twist to the unfolding fairy tale. The air thickened with tension as Emily felt a pull toward the dance floor, her dress shimmering like a beacon. What awaited her there? And who were the eyes that tracked her every step? As Emily stepped into the swirl of colors and chaos, the music enveloped her like a warm embrace. Laughter and applause painted the air with electric excitement, and for a heartbeat, she felt alive, like she had crossed into a world where everything was possible. But that flickering shadow hadn't vanished. It lingered on the periphery of her vision, dark and unsettling. The dance floor was a riot of movement. Couples twirled, spun, and laughed, but Emily couldn't fully let herself go. Every time she caught a glimpse of the shadowy figure, a knot formed in her stomach. Was it paranoia or instinct? She pushed it aside. Tonight was supposed to be magical, and Nathaniel Devereux was here. As she moved deeper into the crowd, Emily's eyes scanned for him. Tall and striking, with a presence that commanded attention, Nathaniel would be unmistakable. She imagined the way he'd smile warm and inviting, and the way he'd reach out to her, offering his hand to dance. Her heart raced in anticipation mixed with anxiety. But then, a movement caught her attention. The shadow was closer now. She turned, half expecting a confrontational gaze, but it was just a couple of partygoers. Still, the feeling of being watched wouldn't leave her. It twisted in her chest like a snake, and she fought against it. "Emily!" Tara's voice cut through her thoughts. Tara came rushing up, her own dress sparkling in the lights. "You've got to see this!" Emily's heart fluttered. Was this the moment? She followed her friend through clusters of guests, her feet moving in rhythm with her racing heartbeat. The thrums of the bass pulsed against her skin, and her excitement surged. But that shadow, that malevolent presence, still loomed like a storm cloud above. Finally, they reached a raised platform. A spotlight illuminated the area, drawing gasps as Nathaniel stepped into view. He was extraordinary dark hair, piercing blue eyes, and a confident smile that could light up the darkness. Emily felt her breath hitch. He was even more breathtaking than all the rumors suggested. But before she could process what happened next, the shadow shifted in her periphery once more. She turned sharply. It was no longer at the entrance, it was here, weaving through the crowd with an elegance that sent shivers down her spine. As it stepped into the light, the room fell strangely silent. A pale figure emerged, wearing a mask that obscured much of its face. The costume was elegant, yet there was something unsettling about the energy that surrounded this person. Emily felt a chill run through her, and the merriment around her dimmed into a haze of whispers. Who was this stranger? Did they know something she didn't? Then, to her horror, the figure's gaze locked onto her. The piercing eyes, hungry, assessing, held her captive. The dim room faded into insignificance as the rest of the world became a blur. Emily's thoughts raced. "Am you okay?" Tara whispered, her voice breaking through the haze. Emily barely nodded. She felt herself drawn back to Nathaniel, the gilded allure of the moment pulling her toward him. But those eyes, locked on her from the masked figure, threatened to consume her. "Stay close," she murmured to Tara before taking one determined step toward Nathaniel, trying to drown out the fear crawling under her skin. But the closer she got, the stronger the pull from the figure became, like gravity itself was working against her, as a dark sense of foreboding settled deep into her bones. What was the connection? Why did she feel tethered to this shadowy stranger? And what revelation awaited her as the night continued to unfold? Just as she reached Nathaniel, the lights flickered ominously, and a hush fell over the crowd. It was time for the unimaginable to begin. What had she stepped into? The lights darkened further, casting an eerie glow. Shadows stretched and throbbed, and Emily felt her heart drum erratically, echoing the chaos of the murmur that spread through the crowd. Whispers wrapped around her like shadows, each word a taut string plucked by unseen hands. "Is that Nathaniel?" someone gasped. "What is about to happen?" Emily's focus shifted back to the platform. Nathaniel stood there, a monarch amidst his court, looking out over the sea of faces. What was about to unfold? The anticipation hung thick in the air, thick enough to choke. Then it happened. The masked figure moved fluidly, crossing the distance between Emily and the platform like a phantom. Guests parted, eyes wide in disbelief, their laughter stilled. Emily couldn't look away. Whatever this stranger was planning, it was orchestrated. "I should go," Emily murmured, the dark presence gripping her arm, holding her in place. It was as if time stretched. The bass of the music faded, replaced by the pulse of anxiety drumming in her ears. Don't," Tara urged as if reading her thoughts. "You're fine. Just stay with me." But Tara's voice felt distant, overlapping with a rising tension. The figure climbed onto the platform, and a new wave of whispers erupted among the guests. "What are they doing? Who is that?" The murmurs buzzed, as eyes darted back and forth, seeking answers, seeking a pulse of excitement, and then that chilling voice broke through. "Welcome, everyone." It was smooth, almost hypnotic. Tonight as celebration takes a twist. Emily's breath hitched. It felt like a declaration meant only for her. Suddenly, swirling colors from the dance floor were dulled, focused entirely on this masked person. Let us bring forth a revelation. What's hidden will be unearthed. The crowd leaned forward, breaths caught in their chests. Emily felt the direction of their energy shift, focusing entirely on the masked figure. What revelation? What did they mean? Her pulse quickened as she felt the gravitation pull of the unexplainable once more, sinking into her stomach. Lady and gentlemen of the night, the figure continued, one among you carries a secret that alters everything. The words hung like fog. A secret? Emily could feel eyes starting to shift, people glancing at each other with uncertainty, suspicion creeping into their expressions. A tickle of dread wormed its way back into her chest. Was it about her? Did someone know? Step forward if you wish to know your fate. Again, a demand that felt personal, and the crowd gasped. Nathaniel moved closer to the edge of the platform, his gaze fixed on the figure. Emily's heart raced. Could he hear what was about to unfold? Should she step forward, confront the unknown? Still, the weight of those piercing, masked eyes kept her paralyzed in place. Do you dare? The voice beckoned. Do any of you dare? A hand shot up from the crowd, followed by nervous applause that sparked from one person to another. Emily caught herself holding her breath, both fear and curiosity pushing her forward. But just then, the masked figure turned toward her. You come forth. Panic flooded her veins, as her heart pounded louder than the bass now thrumming back to life behind her. As the crowd began to part for her, a sudden realization came crashing down. This wasn't just about a performance. This was a reckoning. And Emily could feel the walls closing in. She hesitated, torn between the pull of curiosity and the terrifying itch of an impending unknown. What awaited her beyond the shadows? With one trembling step, she found herself breaking through the crowd. What had she walked into? What would she uncover tonight? But before she could step fully into the spotlight, a hand reached out from behind her. What awaited Emily in the depths of darkness? Emily froze, instinctively flinching as the hand gripped her shoulder. The world around her blurred, a mass of colors and sounds fading into an indistinct hum. She spun around, meeting the intense gaze of a stranger. A woman, dressed in an extravagant gown that shimmered like a cascade of stars, was poised just behind her. Emily! The woman breathed, urgency swirling in her tone. You can't go up there. Her heart raced. Who are you? Someone who knows, the woman replied hastily, her grip firm, yet oddly reassuring. Trust me, whatever you're walking into, it's not what you think. You have to stop this. Confusion clouded Emily's thoughts. Every instinct screamed at her to turn away from the platform, yet something deep within her urged her to confront the unknown. I need to know what is going on. The stranger's eyes flickered to the platform, where the masked figure stood expectantly, waiting. Look at them, they're not here to be entertained. This isn't mere performance, it's manipulation. As if the masked figure could sense their conversation, a chilling laugh echoed across the hall. Ah, a brave one! Seize the moment, audience. It's never too late to know what lies beneath the surface. Emily's stomach churned. The words felt like a dark weaving, entangling her heart in a tightening grip. She glanced back at the masked figure, their presence commanding and potent. What does that mean? She whispered. The woman leaned closer, lowering her voice. He is hunting for secrets, and he'll use whatever's at his disposal. People will be exposed tonight, everyone has something to lose. Her mind whirled. Suddenly, the laughter of the crowd transformed into an anxious melody, a blend of excitement and dread that seeped into the air. Emily could feel the urge to flee gnawing at her insides, but one part of her burned brightly with curiosity. Why are you here? Emily managed, taking a step back from the woman, her heart pounding desperately in her chest. "What are you trying to warn me from?" The woman hesitated, glancing sidelong at the stage. "Because I couldn't leave without trying to help someone who might get hurt." Before she could finish, thunderous applause erupted from the audience. All eyes were shifting back toward the stage, where Nathaniel now stood poised in the spotlight, surveying the crowd with an expression that felt both inviting and foreboding. Time seemed to freeze in that moment. Emily felt the invisible thread that tethered her to Nathaniel, pulling her forward again toward the truth she was battling against. "Emily," the woman's voice broke through her haze. "You need to listen. Secrets aren't just burdens, they're dangers. And they'll reveal what you fear most." Emily's breath quickened, more than just the weight of fear. It was the pulse of realization. She was feeling dread and excitement in equal measure. As she turned back to the platform, the masked figure's eyes found her once more. "Ah, the girl with questions. Are you ready to embrace your blindfold?" With those words, the crowd released a gasp that resonated through the air like a shockwave. What did they know? Emily's mind raced. She could feel the dark web of secrets pulling at her, but fear gripped her tightly. She glanced back at the stranger, who merely shook her head, concern etched deeply into her features. "Are you going to walk into your destiny or run from it?" The woman's voice was a whisper, barely breaking through the din of excitement. "Your choice, Emily." Suddenly, the spotlight shifted, illuminating the figure, and the audience erupted once more. They craved the chaos. "Step forward, Emily. Step forward." The demands echoed from the shadows in the crowd, wrapping around her like chains. With her heart pounding loud enough to drown out the rising clamor, she faced the figure once more. A choice lay before her, but uncertainty hung like the fog that engulfed the night. What truth awaited her in that unforgiving spotlight? Just then, the woman's voice broke through again, louder this time. "You have to remember, every choice reveals something, but not every revelation is safe." Emily hesitated. Could she trust herself? Would this unveiling uncover allies or enemies? In that moment, she realized, the spotlight wasn't merely about her. It would reshape everything she thought she knew. And as a shiver cascaded down her spine, the hand that had reached for her from the crowd suddenly tightened even more. Emily gasped, her breath hitching as the strength of the grip tightened like a vice. She spun around, only to find herself staring into the face of a man, his features obscured by a dark mask. It could have been anyone, but in that moment, his eyes, wild and excited, sent a chill through her. "Not just a spectator, are you?" he whispered, his breath brushing against her cheek, laced with a hint of something dark. "Join us, wouldn't you?" The masked figure shook his head slowly, a knowing smile spreading across his lips. The crowd fell silent, anticipation hanging thick in the air. They wanted to see the reveal. They craved a spectacle. "Let her go!" yelled a woman, her voice sharp enough to slice through the tension. She sprang forward, urging Emily back, but the man pulled her close, clearly unwilling to relinquish his hold. Emily's heart thundered in her chest. "What do you want from me?" she demanded, emboldened by fear. "Ah, but it's not what I want, it's what you need," he replied smoothly, tilting his head like a predator sizing up its prey. "You're at a crossroads, my dear. Every dance has its risks. Shall we?" With a swift motion, he drew her toward the stage. The lights dazzled like a storm of stars, and Emily felt every eye on her, burning into her skin. The weight of their gazes felt like a shroud, instilling both dread and an unquenchable thirst for the truth. "Do you feel it?" the man pressed. "The thrill of the unknown? The chance to break free from your past? To unveil what lies hidden beneath that quiet exterior of yours?" Emily's throat tightened. It was as if he was prying open her deepest fears. She knew she had secrets, truths buried beneath layers of pain and shame, but she had fought to keep them hidden. No, she uttered defiantly, but doubt snaked into her heart. The whispers of the crowd became loud, a cacophony of encouragement and warning, blurring together. "Let us see what secrets you carry," he continued, beckoning her with a flourish. "An innocent smile, perhaps? Or something darker? Are you afraid of what you might show?" The woman who had tried to warn her surged forward again, her expression a mix of desperation and anger. "Emily, you don't have to do this. You can still walk away." But the crowd as chant filled the hall, swaying her sanity. Anxiety battled with exhilaration. Her feet began to move, a slow shuffle toward the stage. With every step, she could feel the pulsing energy surrounding her, intoxicating and luring. What was she doing? Against her better judgment, she let instinct guide her, compulsion overshadowing her fear. "I want to know," she shouted, the words bursting out as if she was ripping at a bandage to expose an unhealed wound. With that decision, an electric shock surged through the atmosphere. A murmur rippled across the audience, a wave of excitement that washed over her. The masked figure smiled wider, satisfied with her admission, as if her willingness to confront the unknown had transformed her into a vital part of his game. "Very well, then," he said, gesturing towards a small pedestal at the center of the spotlight. "Step forward, Emily. Unmask your own heart." As she approached, the crowd leaned forward. Fear inched up her spine, but also a flicker of defiance mingled with wild curiosity. Here was where the unveiling would begin, her truths laid bare. Behind her, she heard the woman's anguished plea, "No, Emily, think." But the moment felt unstoppable. Would she find freedom in exposing herself? Or should she have pulled away, fled from the stage, and all the promises that shadowed it? With trembling fingers, she placed her hand on the pedestal, teetering on the brink of revelation. A shadow flitted past her, a glimpse of blue moving through the throng, and she caught a whiff of something familiar just before everything began to whirl around her. And then, out of nowhere, she felt a sharp jolt. The very ground beneath her shifted, and the lights flickered unsettlingly. "What have you done?" someone shrieked from the dark corner of the crowd, the moment exploding into chaos. Emily's heart raced. What had she unleashed? As whispers turned to screams, the air thickened with unease. A deep, resonating voice boomed from the shadows. Let the truth be unraveled. What hidden figures were concealed in the crowd? What truth lay ahead amidst the collapsing tension? Time seemed to stretch as Emily stood frozen, her destiny unfolding around her like an unwieldy web. What secrets were fated to surface next? The chaos erupted around Emily like a violent storm. A sharp gasp escaped her lips as the lights flickered again, casting flickers of shadow and light across faces filled with horror and fascination. Her heart was pounding, each beat a reminder of the eyes that pierced through her, making her feel utterly exposed. "Get her out of there!" The woman's voice rang out again, cutting through the disarray, but it felt too far away. Emily was anchored in the moment, caught in the electric tension between revelation and disaster. The masked man, however, stood firm, radiating confidence amidst the panic. "Let it unfold, let it unfold," he cried, arms wide, as if embracing the spectacle that was spiraling into chaos. The glimmer of power in his eyes both intrigued and terrified her. "Emily! Do something!" The woman's shout jolted her back to reality. Her friend lunged towards the masked figure, desperation etched into her features. But Emily was paralyzed, both by fear and the intoxicating lure of the unknown, the promise the masked man dangled before her. The crowd's excitement surged, a primal chant rising in pitch, urging her into the spotlight. Trembling, she turned towards the pedestal, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on her. What did he mean by unmasking her heart? She could feel the darkness tugging at her, the edges of her carefully crafted facade threatening to crumble. Then, without warning, a figure rushed forward, shoving Emily aside sharply. She stumbled, panic gripping her heart as she turned to see who had intruded on her moment. It was a man, tall and dressed in an immaculate tuxedo, his face earnest, desperate even. There was something undeniable in his gaze, piercing through the chaos. "Let her go!" he shouted, pointing an accusing finger at the masked man. "You don't get to toy with her." The crowd, in disbelief, momentarily fell into stunned silence, eyes flickering between the two men. Emily felt her world tilt at this unexpected turn. Who was this man who dared challenge her captor? Ah, an unexpected player. The masked figure laughed, his voice dripping with mockery. "But she has stepped willingly into the game, hasn't she? Unlike you, my dear friend." Emily's heart raced faster as her thoughts spun. Who was he? Why did it feel like things had escalated beyond her control? Shadows danced across her memory, the flashes of a life she thought she had left behind mingling with the chaos around her. Taking a deep breath, she planted her feet on the stage, fueled by something deeper than fear now, a flicker of defiance. "What game is this?" she asked, fixation shifting from one man to the other. The room grew still again, all of them waiting for answers, like a bomb ready to detonate. "Why," the masked man replied with an amused smirk, "it's about discovering who you truly are beneath the layers. A game of truth, if you will. Will you play?" The tension crackled again. The crowd leaned in, pulses quickening as the stakes rose. Emily's hands felt clammy, her throat dry. She wanted to scream that she wanted no part in this twisted charade, but a pull, both horrifying and necessary, coursed through her. "Choose, Emily," the masked man urged, stepping closer. "Will you confront your secrets? Or will you allow fear to control you?" Behind her, the mysterious figure in the tuxedo remained unwavering, his eyes intense and pleading. "You don't have to do this," he urged her with a softness that contrasted the madness around them. Emily's thoughts fogged with the weight of expectation, standing at the precipice of revelation, caught between two forces pulling her in opposite directions. Then the ground trembled again beneath her. A sound shifted through the audience, a low rumble echoing, vibrating through her bones, heralding something unspeakable that was waiting just below the surface. What was that? A voice intruded, laced with fear. The masked man's smile faded. He glanced back into the shadows with sudden alarm. "No, it's not," but the words were drowned out by a deafening crash that sent shockwaves through the hall. What had Emily stepped into? As the lights dimmed and the floor quaked, chaos reignited, swirling around them in a frenzy. And with that, she knew her fateful choice was about to unravel in a way she could never predict. What secrets lay beneath the chaos? Who was truly in control? And how far would they go to hold the truth hostage? The screech of metal against metal pierced the air, shattering the moment into jagged shards. Emily's breath hitched as the overhead lights flickered, struggling to maintain their grip on brightness, while the room plunged into near darkness. The crowd erupted into a cacophony of gasps and shouts, their faces painted with raw emotion, fear, confusion, exhilaration. "Get down!" someone shouted, but Emily's feet were glued to the stage. The mysterious man in the tuxedo quickly reached for her, protective instincts firing in his sharp gaze, but she hesitated. The masked man's expansive grin returned, as if he relished the pandemonium unfolding. "Do you see? The truth is already here, unraveling like the threads of a master tapestry." Emily's heart raced, the world blurred at the edges, and a primal urge to flee clawed at her. But beneath the fear lurked curiosity. What did this chaos mean? What were the truths hidden within? Before she could make sense of her thoughts, a sudden explosion of dust and debris cascaded from the ceiling, settling like a heavy veil around them. The masked man raised a gloved hand, still wearing that maddening smile. "All truths come with a price, my dear. Are you ready to pay?" The man in the tuxedo pulled Emily closer, shielding her from the chaos while keeping his eyes locked on the masked figure. This isn't a game. You're just as trapped in his web as everyone else here. Don't listen to him. Emily felt the heat radiating from his body, giving her an unexpected sense of security against the swirling storm of confusion. "Who are you?" she gasped, desperately seeking clarity from the flickering shadows around them. He hesitated, then replied, "I'm someone who is searching for the truth, just like you." His voice was low, steady an anchor in a terrible tide. "Enough," the masked man thundered, his voice now edged with anger. "You'll ruin everything." With a swift movement, he turned from them, glaring at the collapsing ceiling, unfazed by the insanity he had orchestrated. The ground shuddered again, and the thrumming vibration seemed to ripple through Emily, sending her senses on high alert. Something dark lingered, a secret rising up amidst the rubble of the hall. "What does he want?" Emily whispered to the tuxedo-clad stranger, frantic. He leaned closer, urgency lacing his voice. "He wants to expose you. To jar something hidden from within yourself. It's what he does with everyone. But I want to let him play with your heart." The masked man turned back, his grin now twisted. "Playing with hearts? Isn't that the very essence of our existence? Emily, confront your past and your fears, or they will consume you." As debris dripped from above, and the panic swelled, Emily's heart pounded erratically. She could feel it echoing in her ears. The possibility of truth loomed before her like a ghost, beckoning her closer. Suddenly, a loud crash from the back of the hall broke through her thoughts. The crowd surged, desperate for a way out, the grip of fear tightening. "What now?" a woman cried, panic rising like the tide. "Stay with me," the man in the tuxedo urged, as he pulled her further into the space, away from the masked man, away from the chaos. Emily's pulse thrummed with adrenaline as the realization hit her hard. She had to choose. But how could she do this? How could she confront something so profound when everything around her threatened to collapse? What did truth even mean in such turmoil? As the flashing lights flickered and the ground rumbled unsteadily, Emily found herself at the edge of a precipice, where fear and bravery tangled. And then, despite the deafening chaos, her voice emerged, breaking free from the whirlwind of uncertainty. "No more games. I choose to see the truth." The moment hung in the air, charged with possibilities. The masked man's eyes widened, reflecting both shock and dark excitement. But before anything else could unfold, the hall shook violently again, and the masked figure hissed, eyes flaring, "You will regret this choice." What had she unleashed? How far would this revelation lead her, and what consequences lay ahead? As the dust began to settle, time was running out, and the question remained: what truth awaited her, buried beneath the rubble of chaos? The air crackled with tension as dark whispers danced around the edges of Emily's consciousness. The masked man's chilling warning echoed in her ears, settling like a weighted stone in her stomach. The hall shivered once more, an ominous reminder that her defiance had shifted the balance. But there was no turning back, not now. "Emily, we need to find a way out." The tuxedo-clad stranger's voice sliced through her reverie. His urgency shook her from the stupor of fear. He grabbed her wrist, guiding her through the jostling crowd, which throbbed with desperation. Panic-stricken faces flickered around them, illuminated by the strobe lights that cut through the heavy dust. "Wait! What do you mean he is going to expose me?" Emily demanded, her voice barely rising above the tumult. Each word felt like she was stepping into an abyss, a challenge against the swirling chaos. He shot her a look filled with intensity. "He knows something about your past. Something you don't want to resurface. Do you trust me?" "Trust? In a place like this?" Emily's voice shook as she followed him into the clearing amidst the crowd, her thoughts racing. What had she forgotten? What secrets were locked away, buried deep within her mind that could lead the masked figure toward her. Just as tendrils of clarity began to weave through her emotions, the masked man's laughter cascaded over them like ice water. Running won't help you. The truth will find you, Emily. And when it does, it will consume you whole. The crowd surged, pushing and pulling, creating a whirlpool of flesh and fear as dozens of souls desperately searched for an escape route. Emily felt her heart beating a frantic rhythm, every thud echoing her escalating anxiety. What if this was more than just a game? What if the masked man was right? Stay close, the tuxedo stranger urged, pulling her deeper into the darkened recesses of the hall, away from the light and the chaos. Every step felt weighted, as if the very air conspired against them. Each time Emily glanced over her shoulder, dread seeped in. The masked man's eyes were fixed on her, hungry and relentless. But then something unexpected happened. The debris at the edge of their path shifted, revealing a dimly lit doorway, half hidden in shadows. Could this be a way out or a trap? Her instincts screamed at her to hesitate, to play it safe. But if the masked man was right, time was not on her side. "Emily!" The man's voice broke through, fierce with urgency. "We have to go now. Trust me." The choice rushed at her, crashing over her like a wave. Could she trust him? Could she trust anyone? With a determined breath, she nodded, and together, they plunged through the doorway. The narrow passageway was dark, the walls echoing their hurried breaths. It felt as if they were entering the belly of a beast, where secrets thrived and shadows twisted. "Now what?" Emily whispered, her voice trembling. "We wait. In the dark, we might just find what we need," he replied softly, eyes darting, scanning every corner for signs of pursuit. And then, just as silence began to wrap around them, a soft sound reached her ears, a faint scrambling, like claws against metal. Fear gripped her heart anew. Something was coming. "What is that?" she asked, losing her grip on composed bravery. His expression darkened. "Whatever it is, it means we're not alone." Suddenly, the world outside her fragile cocoon felt threatening, like a lion lurking just out of sight. The shadows felt alive, growing heavier around her, suffocating. "Get ready," he murmured, preparing himself for what lay ahead. But Emily's mind spiraled. Would facing whatever was lurking in the darkness actually lead her closer to the truth? Or would it tear her apart? The shadows danced, beckoning her deeper into the unknown. With the sound growing louder, she gripped the man's arm tighter, and they braced themselves, ready to confront whatever revelations awaited them in the consuming dark. Would they find the truth, or would the truth find them in ways they couldn't possibly imagine? The scraping grew closer, a rhythmic tapping that electrified the air. Emily's heart raced as the darkness felt pressed against her skin, intoxicating her senses with fear. She could feel the tuxedo stranger's body tense beside her, a physical reminder that they were alive. For now. "Don't make a sound," he whispered, his jaw clenched. That single command fired her nerves. Every instinct told her to bolt, but where to? The passage stretched endlessly, a twisting labyrinth of uncertainty. And then, the noise intensified. Whatever, or whoever, was lurking there wasn't shy anymore. It clawed at the ground with purpose, echoing a soft thud as it moved. Was it strong? Was it fast? Each question turned in her chest, breeding a cold sweat. "Look," he murmured, bending low so his mouth was close to her ear, "we need to get to the end of this tunnel." If we can reach the light before he finished, the sound abruptly ceased. Silence hung thick, even their breaths felt risky. Then, a low growl emanated from the shadows, sending chills racing down Emily's spine. It was guttural, unnatural. Her skin prickled as darkness coalesced, forming a hulking shape just beyond her line of sight. "Run!" he barked, pulling her with sudden force. There was no time for uncertainty. They bolted down the narrow passage, feet pounding against the hard surface. Emily's breath gasped in her throat. The sound echoed back to them, amplifying dread with every hurried inhale. But they didn't dare look back. What was behind them was far worse than the terror of the unknown ahead. The tunnel twisted, threatening to confuse them further. Emily's pulse surged as they rounded a sharp turn, and suddenly, a faint glimmer of light creeped into view at the far end. Hope ignited within her. "Keep going!" she shouted, desperation fueling her. The stranger responded with renewed energy, urging them both on. Just as the light grew brighter, a deafening crash echoed behind them, like thunder reverberating through air. Emily dared a glance over her shoulder. Time seemed to freeze as she saw it, a massive, shadowy figure skittering after them, claws stretching more viciously than she could fathom. "Faster!" the stranger shouted, and they raced toward the light like desperate moths drawn to flames. As they reached the threshold, Emily almost tripped over the threshold. The corridor abruptly opened into a vast chamber bathed in harsh neon lights. They stumbled in, panting, but the brightness felt blinding after the dark. The space was bizarre, a lavish room with shimmering mirrors on every wall, filled with elegance and horror at once. But where was the exit? The chamber was a prison of opulence. She spun around, panic rising. A laugh echoed through the space, the familiar sound twisting in her gut. An elegant ending, the masked man appeared in the doorway, his eyes gleaming with malevolence. "Welcome to the grand reveal, Emily." The tuxedo stranger stepped in front of her, body taut with aggression. "What do you want?" Emily's heart raced again, not just from fear, but dread. The revelations she had tried to escape were closing in. Would this be the moment everything she buried would be unearthed? "Everything," the masked man replied, a smirk playing on his lips. "And let us start with your little secret." A tremor shot through her, digging deep into her core. What was the masked man about to expose? That was when she noticed something glinting in the man's hand. A piece of paper, crumpled, yet unmistakable. Her breath hitched. "Your past has a way of catching up, don't you think?" he taunted, stepping forward. In the midst of her panic, insight struck. What if this was her chance? The crossroads between the past and whatever future she could carve from the rubble of her mistakes. The air between them sizzled with tension. And just like that, a choice flickered in the back of her mind, a chance to confront the demons that had haunted her. But at what cost? Would she fearlessly claim her truth, or let it consume her? "Go, Emily. Now!" the stranger urged, his eyes narrowing on the advancing figure. She hesitated, unsure of what came next. The choice loomed colossal over her, and uncertainty flooded her veins like ice. Would she take a stand? Or would she let the masked man dictate her fate? As the shadows around her danced with silent promises, she prepared to step into the light of her own truth or stumble back into darkness. The chaos around Emily surged and swirled like a tempest. The masked man, enigmatic and predatory, stepped closer with each heartbeat. The gleaming piece of paper in his hand had her entire world hanging in the balance. Emily's breath quickened, catching in her throat. "What do you want?" she forced out, her voice tremoring like a leaf in a storm. "Your secret, dear Emily," he said, the words dripping with malicious delight. "You can't hide from it forever." Her heart thundered as the shadow of her past loomed large. Memories she had fought to bury clawed at the edges of her mind, feelings of shame, regret, and fear all blended together like a swirling vortex. The tuxedo-clad stranger shifted protectively closer, eyes blazing with determination, but even he seemed aware of the magnitude of this moment. "Emily," he said softly, "you have the power to decide what happens next. Don't let him take that away from you." The crowd beyond the chamber still buzzed with raging excitement, but now their murmurs felt a world away. Emily's focus narrowed, her entire being honed in on the masked figure, waiting with bated breath for her decision. I won't let you control me, she declared, unconsciously tightening her grip on the bottom of her shimmering dress. I will confront whatever it is you think you've found. The masked man chuckled darkly. How brave. But will your bravery hold against the truth that awaits? Every gaze in the room felt heavy, pressing down on her as she considered the consequences. Could she truly face what loomed? Her body trembled, but something deeper was awakening inside her, a fire igniting, driving away doubt. Yes, she shouted, her voice slicing through the tension like a knife. I choose to face my truth. As she declared her intent, the masked man's face twisted, surprise flickering across his eyes. The energy around them shifted dramatically. So be it, he proclaimed, tossing the crumpled paper into the air like confetti. It fluttered dramatically, spinning as it traveled to the ground. Emily leaned down, her heart racing, and picked up the paper. It was a faded note, penned in a familiar scrawl that sent shockwaves through her. It was a letter from her childhood. The truth spilled out like a floodgate, released her deepest wounds laid bare. Why, Emily? The masked man taunted, his laughter cutting through the air. Why did you hide this? Her chest tightened. She hadn't just hidden it, she had buried it. Because it hurt. I thought burying it would protect me. Oh, but denying it gives your past power, he crooned, eyes glinting with cruel satisfaction. Before Emily could respond, the tuxedo stranger stepped forward, an impenetrable wall of resolve. You aren't defined by the past, Emily. Break free. It doesn't own you. His voice wrapped around her, a lifeline in the crazy storm. Suddenly, the masked man's laughter twisted into a furious snarl. You think she's free? There's no escape from the truth. But with that, a wild determination unfurled in Emily's heart. This was hers to define, to unhinge the shackles that had bound her for too long. The weight within her shifted and cracked open like a stone under pressure. I've made mistakes, and I'm not running from them, Emily shouted, holding the letter up defiantly. You can't use them against me anymore. The room fell silent, the masked figure's expression changing from disdain to calculated rage. Bright light surrounded her as she moved forward, standing in the center of the room, raw and exposed, yet undeniably powerful. Identity is not built on secrets held under lock and key, she said, her conviction echoing throughout the chamber. It's forged from our scars and our stories. I own my truth, and I refuse to let you take that away. With those words, the atmosphere cracked with energy. The luxurious yet threatening room began to tremble, as if the very foundations were shifting under her declaration. The masked man, unsettled by the power she was harnessing, stepped back, his confidence wavering. Emily, the tuxedo stranger, spoke, his voice low but filled with awe. You did it. You took back your power. Together, let us dismantle this. At that moment, the masked figure scowled, reality crumbling. Your anger blinds you. You'll regret this. Emily felt the shadows swirl around her, the echoes of her past harmonizing with her newfound strength. No more regret, she asserted loudly, only growth. And just like that, the pressure in the room lifted. Light flooded in like the dawn breaking after a long dark night. The crowd erupted again in gasps and applause, a chorus of souls finally recognizing her victory. Breath pouring from her lips, she turned to the man in the tuxedo. A sense of relief washed over her. She had faced the masked man, her true self emerging from the depths of darkness. Emily stepped forward, feeling the warmth of the crowd now supporting her. Thank you, she whispered to the stranger, gratitude filling her voice. Now, let us walk towards the future, he replied, a sincere smile breaking across his face. Together, they stepped into the light, leaving behind the remnants of secrets and shadowy whispers. And as the laughter of the crowd enveloped them, Emily felt lighter, ready to embrace life anew. And just like that, she bid farewell to the night that had begun as a fearful dream and blossomed into vivid reality. Her journey toward liberation and understanding had only just begun. Each step forward marked a newfound commitment. Emily lifted her chin higher, ready for whatever came next. You need to subscribe now to catch more of these incredible sports and stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. And I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Emily's journey. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who have to experience this powerful conclusion. Let us do this together.